do you write a good artist statement? Firstly, you need to know exactly what an artist statement is and what its purpose is. Is it just something that somebody came up with to annoy artists who really just want to get on with their work and make it rather than having to explain it? I think actually it is. But I think it also does have a higher purpose or a better purpose. Whether it be a judge or someone who you want to land a commission with, or just promotional and to get more sales, whoever it is, all you're trying to do is make it easier for them to understand your work. So in order to make it easy for them to connect with your work, it needs to be three things. It needs to be brief, it needs to be clear, and it needs to be truthful. It doesn't want to be a political statement or a manifesto about all your beliefs, what's going on in the world. It doesn't want to be a demonstration of how clever you are and what big words you can use. And it doesn't have to articulate all the developments that have gone and all the ideas that have gone into your work. Remember, it is just helping them to make a connection. And it can be the beginning of lots of connections, but it's just helping them to bridge that, to make that one connection. So you don't have to give all the information that is pertaining to that work, or you're just wanting to make one connection and hopefully draw them in so that they can continue to make more connections. By truthful, I mean that you don't have to justify your work with clever art speak and show how many sort of arty words you know, and you don't have to sound like an art critic. You have to sound like you, just as your work wants to convey something about you, and that connection that you're trying to build is from the audience to your work and to you. You have to, that has to be truthful all the way through, so you can't pretend to be something that you're not. You're the artist, this is your work, and this is what it means to you. So what should you write about? There are three guidelines: how, what, and why. Here are some questions that might help you with these guidelines. How? How did you make it? How did you decide on this direction? How did you choose your palette? How did you choose your medium? How are you combining media? Those sorts of questions could help you come up with some how sentences. What? What is the viewer looking at? What was your process? What are you investigating? What was the initial inspiration, and where did that lead? What qualities characterize your work? What keeps you curious and dedicated to making your work? What was involved? Were there collaborations? What tools did you use? Did you travel? Did you do research? What time frame did this take? Now, you don't have to answer all of these questions, but these might just prompt you into, if they're relevant to a particular work or a series, that you could answer those questions. Why? Why did you make this? What do you believe in? What belief are you investigating? What were you thinking about during the process? And what inspired this direction? Now, this part can be probably the most difficult part, because you really have to drill down into what it is that drives you to making your work. And for me, in my artist statement, when I answer the why question, the why is I'm inspired to discover my own visual language and the process and the journey that takes on. I love the feeling of not knowing the solution, but forging ahead kind of blindly to discover what visually excites me. So those would be the sort of things that I would write down in terms of why I paint. When I wrote a recent artist statement, I brainstormed and just wrote down notes. I didn't try to form sentences at first. I just jotted down some notes in answer to those prompts. Then, once I had a bunch of stuff written down, I then tried to flesh them out into sentences. And then after that, I tried to form a paragraph. Now, the structure of the paragraph, or maybe if you're writing a longer artist statement, you might get to write a few paragraphs, but in this one, it was limited to about 100 words. So the structure that I used was, first of all, medium, then process, then understanding. So the how, the what and the why fit neatly into those headings as well. The how, you'll deal to the medium. What did I use? The what is the process. What are you looking at? What drove me to make this? The why is the understanding. Why is it that I feel it's important to make this work? Following these guidelines and writing down your sentences and your notes will give you prompts for further artist statements, because much as we think once we've written one, we've nailed it, there will always be more. In relation to new work or a different sort of context. So keeping these notes is a really useful thing to do. So keep a file of them, whether that's on your computer or your phone or in a folder, the old-fashioned way. Keep a file of them so that it gives you a starting point. You don't have to start from scratch every time. And then another good thing to do is, once you have formulated your artist statement, to actually sit down in front of your work and look at your artist statement in relation to the work in front of you and see, is it really truthful? Is it clear? And have you expressed exactly what the person will be looking at? Give them a little bit of information about how you made it, and try to help them understand why you made it and why it's important to you. When it's finally written, you can share it with somebody, and it's probably a really good idea to read it either out loud to someone and let them have a look at your work and see if that helps them make that connection, and also to listen to the questions that they ask afterwards, because that might help you to identify anything that perhaps needs a little bit more clarity. When it's finally written, make sure that it's brief, it's clear, and it's truthful, and it's true to you. It has to be easy to understand so that that connection can be easily made. We don't want it to be hard work for the viewer to connect with your art. It can be the beginning of a long journey. So you just want to have enough there to help them make that first step and connect them to your work. Good luck.